Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live, yes, all the way live from Black Pearl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. Wow, wow, wow. How wonderful was our Big Dem weekend last week? Oh my goodness, I am fired up and ready to go. But before I get to that, I got to ask you guys, are y'all watching the January 6th commission hearings? Are y'all watching that? I knew it was bad. I knew January 6th was bad, but I didn't realize how bad. Dude does not care for the rule of law. None of his little minions care about the rule of law. They just care about power. And again, why do we want to keep a narcissistic twit as president? He's a moron. He's unscrupulous beyond belief. He is the most horrible human on the planet. There's no reason why he should have ever been elected to the highest office in our land. And it just shows that some people, they will throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's what they will do, because they were really about ready to give up our democracy. They were really about ready to give it up. And I'm watching it. I'm keeping an open mind. And have you noticed that it's only Republicans they've been talking to? They ain't even talked to no Democrats yet. They've only been talking to Republicans. So this dude, they just need to throw him overboard. And before we get to the Big Dem weekend and who the candidates will be, I wanted to read this. I saw this just before we came on the show. The U.S. Supreme Court has struck down a New York gun law on Thursday requiring people to demonstrate proper cause to carry concealed firearms outside of their homes. The court voted 6-3, arguing that the 108-year-old state law violated the Constitution's 14th Amendment by preventing law-abiding citizens with ordinary self-defense needs from exercising their right to keep and bear arms, per the opinion according to the Washington Post. The ruling could make it easier for people in at least a half dozen states to legally carry loaded firearms in public. Now, obviously, this comes on the heels of the Senate passing some type of gun reform. Listen, if killing little kids doesn't make them want to look at assault weapons and banning those type of weapons, when the little babies died at Sandy Hook, I knew, and they didn't make any changes. I'm sorry, it's not going anywhere else until we begin to elect people who will put judges in place, who will write policies that speak to who we are and the spaces that we're in right now. Obviously, the Second Amendment was written when we were having muskets and you had to rip open the powder and stuff it down in there. You weren't shooting 15 people at one time. But, I mean, in Indiana, we got rid of, we have constitutional carry now. You can just go get a gun. What could possibly go wrong with that? I don't know. And of course, Republicans always swear they are down with law enforcement. Law enforcement begged them not to pass that bill, but they did it anyway. All right. So Big Dem weekend. Republicans had their whatever they call their weekend. They were at the fairgrounds. We were at the convention center. So who we got? Well, you already know that Mayor McDermott is running for U.S. Senate against Todd Young. Honestly, I think he probably is the best candidate to run against Todd Young. He, when you put them side by side, they're both military veterans. At least Mayor McDermott has actually been in executive branch for a while. So it's actually a good race as far as Indiana is concerned. I'm not really sure how it's going to turn out. We're gonna keep our fingers crossed that hopefully those that are interested in decriminalization and legalization of cannabis will get on board. I know it worked in Colorado, so maybe we can do something here. But the bigger race, in my opinion, the most important race, is the race of who's going to protect your voting rights. Diego Morales, who is running as a Republican, will face off against Destiny Wells. Destiny is an Army Reserve. Now, listen, I got this information. I was reading this information on the Indianapolis Star. The Indianapolis Star, sometimes I'm a little discouraged with them because they did not give any of the same time to our Democratic candidates that they did to the Republican candidates. They wrote up articles and talked about the convention. They didn't give us no love. That's why Turn Left is here, because I'm going to talk about what we care about as Democrats and highlight who we are. But Diego Morales will face off against Destiny Wells. Republicans don't even like Diego Morales. Dude got fired multiple times from the Secretary of State's office. Not exactly sure how well for incompetence, mind you. Not really sure if he's going to be the right guy for that position. So y'all, let's get behind Destiny Wells and let's get on that. The state GOP also selected its nominee for state auditor and treasurer during Saturday's party convention, choosing current auditor Tara Klutz for the party's nominee for auditor, and Daniel Elliott, the chair of the Morgan County Republican Party, for treasurer. They will go against Jessica McClellan, who's running for treasurer out of Bloomington. She's already the Monroe County treasurer, so she's already got that experience. And Zanae Brooks, who is a CPA for Cummings, will be our Democratic nominee for auditor. Y'all, do you not recognize what we have done here? Democrats have put together a diverse all-woman team. I mean, woo, all women from diverse backgrounds. Yes, we can do that. So let's get behind these candidates and let's make sure that we got to get at least 2 or 3 of these statewide offices, because right now we have none. But it's going to take everybody to get involved. It's not going to happen because we hope and wish and pray. We got to actually get out and do the work. All right. And you got to donate. You got to donate to these candidates. Go to their Act Blue pages. I said it. Go to their Act Blue pages and support these candidates. All right. Albany Democrat Herald reports Indiana will see another increase in state gasoline taxes starting July 1 amid promises of inflation relief, including a proposal to issue direct payments. The state's residents will pay 62 cents per gallon in taxes on gasoline. The State Department of Revenue announced Monday another jump from June's record high of 56 cents per gallon. Fuel costs were expected to continue to rise in July, elevated largely because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Now, the president came on yesterday and said, could y'all please do some cutting, maybe cut some of these fuel gas taxes? I found it interesting that Sir Mitch McConnell was like, oh, no, it's a ridiculous idea. But it wasn't a ridiculous idea to give those tax breaks to all those wealthy people, now was it? But you don't want to do anything for the little people, the people that actually have to drive back and forth to work every day. You don't want to give them a break. I wonder why. Listen, it may not make a huge difference all at once, but it's going to make a difference to people who have to put, 10 gallons of gas in their car. $5 a gallon or $4 a gallon is a big difference for a lot of people. So I wish they would do something. They could at least hold off on raising the taxes, but it looks like it's not going to happen. Republicans, they hate taxes, except for when they're taxing working class people. That's all I'm going to say. And then, of course, the Indiana Star reports Eric Holcomb has signed a proclamation Wednesday calling lawmakers back to the State House for a special session starting July 6th. He's asking legislators to send a collective $1 billion package back to Hoosiers in order to combat inflation. His plan, he wants to give every Hoosier $225 along with the $125 each Hoosier got if you got it. I got mine. Hope you get yours. Yes, this $225 will come as much needed, with the reserve funds and the AAA ratings. Surely to goodness and mercy, you will be able to give something back to the people that actually created that amazing surplus of dollars and reserve of dollars, especially since you're not putting high-speed internet in, especially since you're not paying the teachers like they're supposed to. Especially since you're not making sure that all schools have the same amount of resources. Might as well give $225 back. I'm just saying. I'm being a smart behind. But real talk, these guys they have all this money, but they don't seem to know how to invest in Hoosier families. And that's where I have a real issue with a lot of this stuff, because people out here struggling. People don't want to live in Indiana. People are leaving. People are getting these amazing degrees from IU, Notre Dame, Purdue, Ball State, Indiana State, Rose-Hulman, all these wonderful schools, and they go elsewhere. We have over 50 counties that are essentially welfare counties. And guess what, y'all? It ain't Marion County. Marion County makes sure we fund 50 states who are losing revenue. All those red, bleeding red counties, the bluest county of them all, is supporting y'all and lifting y'all up. It is what it is. That's where the people are. So we want to keep people in Indiana, and even in those small towns, so that we can generate revenue across the board, we've got to do a lot more when it comes to the quality of life here in Indiana, because it is terrible and we are losing people on a regular basis. All right, that's my rant. I'm still kind of hyped for my vacation. I'm still kind of hyped because, I just turned 52. 52, it looked kind of good on me, don't it? 52, had my birthday a couple weeks last week. Feeling good. And I'm so glad that we have this show for you. So hopefully you guys are tuning in. You like the content that we're bringing you, and you will want to contribute and donate to these candidates that come on the show. Well, who's on the show, you say? Well, first up, he's coming in. This is the first time I've had a chance to meet him, but I saw he won his primary. So I was like, yo, come holla at your girl. Y'all give it up for my first guest, running in State Senate District 14, Zach Heimach. Zach, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dana. Thanks. It's good to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. And also running for our state senate in District 41 is Bryan Munoz. Bryan, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Dana.
I love it. How you guys doing today?
Doing great. Doing great. The heat broke a little bit. It was a beautiful day down here in southern Indiana.
I love it. I love it. You guys been watching any of the hearings?
Yeah, it's wild. It's absolutely wild. Like you said, the narcissism. Just, I don't know of anybody more narcissistic. It's just, you knew there was narcissism there, but to the depth and level, it's just jaw dropping.
Oh my God, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's been interesting. And I was listening to a little bit of NPR in the car, just covering and talking about Arizona and what was going on there, and just the willingness to sacrifice ideals in the name of power is just an extremely disturbing trend.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I tell you what, let's get into talking about who y'all are. Zach, tell the people who you are and where you come from.
Yeah. So, hey everybody, my name is Zach Heimach. I grew up and was raised in Auburn, Indiana, DeKalb County. We're the northeast corner of the state. We're about 20 minutes north of Fort Wayne. So I grew up here. It's about 12,000 person town. Went off to college at Miami University, and then wanted to do some service. Got in the AmeriCorps program and worked for the Boys and Girls Clubs in Metro Denver for 2 years, and it was an incredible experience working in inner city Denver in some underinvested neighborhoods, and really had almost a second family out there between the kids and the families and my fellow people who are working in the AmeriCorps program. And it was really revelatory, and just a way of, understanding communities that don't look like Auburn or don't look like Waterloo, don't look like Butler, don't look like college towns, and being able to develop relationships and get a better understanding and empathize. After that, I realized that some of the issues that the kids were facing, the families were facing, were more systemic issues that, as good as public policy or as good as direct services, public policy might be the thing that also needs to change in order to lift up, empower, and give a good foundation for the neighborhoods that these kids are growing up in. And so I worked at the state senate for about 11 months in communications, and then went to seminary, Louisville Presbyterian Theological Seminary. Realized I didn't want to be a pastor, but that I wanted to look at how we stand by people who are oppressed, people who are downtrodden, how we actualize love, not like the sentimental love, but what King talked about, this creative, uplifting, substantial force in our society and our culture. And if the last 4 years hadn't happened, the last 6 years hadn't happened, I don't know that I'd be in this position. I work in community development, but like I said earlier, the willingness to sacrifice our ideals and our values. Um, I grew up Northeast Indiana, small town, and it was, I believe in liberty, I believe in opportunity, I believe in freedom of speech,
Mm-hmm.
I believe in equality. These things were not, just rhetoric to me. And the last 6 years have kind of made it seem that these things are just tools people are using to get power.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very dissatisfied with that. So yeah, I'm here for the proactive reasons of getting a better foundation for education. Mental health is a huge need in DeKalb County and Allen County, and just the upside that we can have by having a better education system, having more accessible mental health care, and overall knitting our communities back together around actually investing in people's lives is, I think, a really productive direction we can go in. So that's why I'm running for state senate.
So it sounds like you have a servant's heart. It sounds like, you believe in, I am my brother's keeper.
Yeah, very much so. And I think that is a lot because of the experience I had growing up in this community. And it was, I was blessed to have so many mentors, a strong community, coaches, teachers, theater instructors.
Theater.
Oh yeah, show choir, DeKalb show choir. When I was growing up, we were pretty good. We competed regionally, and but yeah, just you have all these experiences, and then you leave, and you see beyond your horizon. You understand how important those were for you, but also how many people don't have those experiences, and realizing how important they are for you, and how many people don't have those experiences. To me, it's my faith is an extremely important part of this. And to me, treating other people you want to be treated and putting yourself in other people's shoes. You want other people to have those opportunities and blessings. And that's extremely important to me. And I think that's how we begin to empathize more and really knit our communities together.
That, you sound like the right kind of person we need in our state house when we see these folks writing the kind of policies that are harmful to humans because they disagree with them. We need more people who have compassion for humans, not see them just as tax-paying commodities.
Right. And I think it was Chief Executive Magazine said Indiana is the fifth best state for business. And that's good. That's important. But when the Gallup Research Organization did a survey of Indiana right before the pandemic,
mm-hmm.
well-being, we were 41st in the nation. When it comes to career, social life, health, we ranked almost last. And so we have to ask the question, whose interests are being lifted up? Is it the individuals and the communities and the people of our state, or is it not? And the purpose of government is to represent all people, not just a niche amount of interest. And so, that's really important to me. Are we actually living up to the purpose and the ideals of why we're here?
I love it. And guys, if you like what Zach's talking about, his Act Blue link is right there. I tell you what, I'm gonna have to give him some dollars because I'm feeling what my man is talking about. All right, Bryan, he set the stage up for you.
Yeah.
Tell the people who you are and where you come from.
I feel like Zach and I are like, we don't realize it, but we're like cut from the same cloth. That I'm a show choir kid too. I grew up in Fort Wayne, went to Carroll High School. So we were like the Carroll show choirs.
Okay, wait. How is it that I got two show choir candidates on the show?
So where are all our sequins at? I want to know. Like, there should be way more sequins right now in this interview. So I'm a born and bred Hoosier. I grew up in Fort Wayne, and I went to Carroll High School, but I grew up on the east side of Fort Wayne. I have two brothers and a sister, and my dad died when I was young, and so it was a single mother raising four kids, and she just did an amazing job raising us and working, and our family was a team. We were lucky that our extended family was in Fort Wayne, so they helped kind of raise us too. So that family structure was so important to me as I was growing up. And taught religious education at St. Charles when I was going through high school. And when I went to college, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I just didn't know what vehicle. And I was good at music. I'm actually a band guy. So I decided to go into music education, went to IPFW, volunteered at JA, Junior Achievement, when I was in college, just to be in front of kids. I think what I enjoyed most when I started in religious education in high school was that you had the power to get kids to think for themselves and make decisions for themselves and come to conclusions for themselves and just offer them ideas and thoughts, and not decisions, but ideas and thoughts. And so that drove me into education. So I got my bachelor's, taught up north for a while. I've moved down here now to Columbus, Indiana, just south of Indianapolis. My district's District 41, so that's all of Bartholomew County, which is Columbus is the major city there, and then kind of the bottom half of Johnson County. So I think like Whiteland, Franklin, just south of Greenwood. Got my master's at Indiana Wesleyan for leadership, and so I'm the band director here at Columbus North High School. We have 200 kids in our marching band, and that keeps me busy. But it was just that turning students into leaders, and kind of to piggyback off of what Zach said, of people leaving Indiana was a big thing. What's the desire to stay here? And so if you can simultaneously teach kids that you can create a better life for everyone in your community, and you can make your community a place where people then want to come into it and live there because of you and because of your actions and your words and how we treat our community, really kind of has driven how I teach. And so that's kind of me in the 45-second nutshell.
I love it. And you know what? We need more educators in our state house, because apparently the people who are writing policies don't actually know what teachers do.
Yeah. So Dana, that was one of the biggest driving forces, I think, for a lot of us. Cindy Worth is running for Congress in our area, and she's a teacher too. In fact, I think she just wrapped up her doctorate. So we're going to be calling her Doc on the campaign trail.
Dr. Dub.
That's right. And so she, we were under attack. It just felt like the state has been telling us for the last few years, you don't know what's good for your community. And they weren't just talking to teachers, they were talking to school board members, which community members, they're business leaders, they're people who have kids in the school, and they're just saying, you don't know what's good for your kids. So we're going to legislate what is best for your kids. And it's just ridiculous. And, I've lived in Fort Wayne. I student taught at DeKalb. I know Zach's district very well, and we're similar in some ways, but we're very different in other ways. And Zach's constituents know what's best for their kids. And the people in Columbus and in Johnson County, we know what's best for our kids. And let us worry about our kids. You worry about helping us get relief at the pump, and worry about making Indiana a better place.
Yeah.
We'll take care of our communities.
One of the things I find interesting, and both of you chime in on this, it seems like we have gone, when we started doing the standardized testing and, ISTEP, whatever it's called this week, because it'll probably change, we started removing good stuff from school, right? I mean, yes, I understand people talk about us reading, writing, and arithmetic, but there's something about developing a young person when you have music, when you have art. Talk about, in both terms, since you both were in show choir, what it meant for you as young people to be able to have those extracurricular activities, and how did it round you out as a human?
Yeah, so, I think as I teach, I teach band every day. I see these kids every day. We're in a couple of weeks, I'm gonna see these kids in marching band more than they're in their own parents. And one, it gives a kid purpose. It gives a student a sense of belonging. And it doesn't have to be music or theater or football. It could be welding class. We talk about teaching to the test. But then we hear our community say, well, why don't they teach kids to change tires or change oil?
Finances.
We used to be able to do that until all these standardized tests came around, and we were forced to kind of eliminate those things. It gives kids a sense of purpose and a reason to get up in the morning and be a part of something bigger than themselves, because that's what they're going to be a part of when they step out of high school.
Yeah. Zach?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I'm not a professional educator. You know, working at the Boys and Girls Club, I designed lots of youth development programs and ran programs. You know, working at after school programs in seminary. But it's so clear when you do things like that, as I'm sure Bryan would agree, that teaching is so much more than just instruction. There's so much more to being a role model, to inspiring kids, to caring for kids, having to flexibly handle, you know, situations that come up that you may never anticipate, or that has nothing to do with the lesson at hand. But you know, show choir honestly was such such an amazing part of my high school experience. It was me, my cousins, a lot of my best friends. Half the soccer team was on the show choir. Was on the show choir. So you know, it also gives you things that you wouldn't necessarily pick up.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I got to a senior, uh, you know, public speaking, being in front of crowds, being able to express, having the empowering experience of doing something creative that you really like, that you, boy, I remember our first competition walking on at Southmont, and then hearing them announce DeKalb High School, and hearing the crowd explode, and the chills you get from that, and being able to just do something powerful, be led by mentors who, you know, talk about the difference between goodness and greatness, um, talking about discipline, talking about self-discipline. You know, you just get all these things that I remember doing a public speaking in college and realizing I wasn't nervous at all,
Mm-hmm.
and not even understanding why that was, and thinking, oh, it's because I just spent the last 4 years of my high school being in front of crowds, being center stage in front of people, singing solos, and you just pick up things that you wouldn't get otherwise. And you
Mm-hmm.
do that way, like Bryan said, whether it's being an auto mechanic, or whether it's doing art, or whether it's doing sports, but picking up things that you wouldn't necessarily get just in the classroom. And it was immeasurably valuable to me.
I love it. I mean, and now I think, you know, you triggered something when you were talking about it. And I guess we got to talk about something serious. You know, you talked about how these show choirs, these extracurriculars develop young people so that, you know, when they get older, they're prepared. I think about it, literally hit my brain just as you were saying that, the young Uvalde students who will never get the opportunity to experience what you guys are talking about. And I mentioned that the Supreme Court struck down New York's laws unconstitutional, talked about how the Senate passed some gun regulation. If you want, and you know, hopefully it's not too sensitive, and I apologize in advance, but talk about your emotions about Uvalde, and then as policymakers, how would you like to see, you know, this crisis of mass shootings and people being able to just to go get assault rifles with a gazillion magazines and that many more bullets? Talk about that, Zach.
Yeah, and you know, I felt like, you know, we didn't even have time to grieve Buffalo
Right?
by the time Uvalde happened, and there were so many, you know, there were so many layered um, aspects to Buffalo too, between the racism, the uplift of white supremacy, the up, you know, the isolation of people, and again, not having knit together communities where people feel like they can rely on each other, where people reach out to each other, where people um, you know, are invested in each other's lives. And I think that's, you know, not to get too far afield, but I think that's part of the character of our politics, is a big part of this problem. But yeah, it's disgusting to me. Um, those guys were never going to be help to anybody's militia if we're talking about the Second Amendment. And you know, those kids had a right to live. And if we're weighing, the completely uninhibited right to get an assault rifle, a weapon of war, and I think some of the Republican Party in the state has talked about hardening our schools even further and more security measures. But I don't feel comfortable with making our schools into barracks, and eventually the kids are going to leave the school. So to me, you know, we got to do something. The status quo is not acceptable. And I think at least raising the age limit to 21, that to me, so many of these shooters have been 20, around 21 or under.
Mm-hmm.
Just there's so much support for a universal background check. There's so much support for common sense and weighing the importance of these kids' lives, their right to their lives, and the kids who survived and will be traumatized
forever.
But it relates to developing more access to mental health care and understanding. At the teen library, I hear kids coming in every day, talking about incredibly stressful things that are happening in their lives. I'm trained in pastoral care and in mental health care, but I'm not a therapist, and
right.
I'm not going to say that I am. Like, I'll listen, I'll empathize, but giving people more access early on to mental health care can be such a massive tool and a massive help. And if we're really invested in protecting people and giving them tools to navigate their lives and building as a net stronger community, I really want to focus on mental health care as part of that conversation.
I like that. I like that. What you got, Bryan?
Yeah, I think, the officers at Uvalde froze. They didn't know what to do, and they didn't respond quick enough. I don't think if I was armed, I would respond faster. I'm not trained in that.
Right.
That's not my profession. I didn't choose. When I went to college, I didn't go, I want to defend a high school. I want to be the defender of a high school. I want to be a public safety servant. That's not what I signed up to do.
Right.
So I don't think, I would hope that if God forbid anything happened, that my instincts would kick in and I would go into like Papa Bear mode and protect everybody. But I don't think arming me is going to help that situation. Arming me isn't going to stop that teenager from buying a gun or stealing a gun or buying a high capacity magazine. And even bigger, if we want to focus on protecting people, why did Indiana allow permitless carry? Didn't it just get inherently more dangerous in Indiana for our police officers to protect
what could go wrong?
Our community?
It goes into effect. Doesn't it go into effect this year, July 1?
Yeah. We're on the eve basically of permitless carry, and we're inherently saying to the police officers, we're going to make your job tougher.
Yeah.
You now have to assume we're all going to carry a gun, and it's all going to have a high capacity magazine, and we're allowed to do that because it's Indiana.
And see, the bad part about that, and I understand like the one side of, okay, law enforcement has no idea what someone has. The other side of that is law enforcement has no idea what somebody has. And if you're black and brown, that is a deadly combination. You don't even, they don't know who has a gun now. They don't even know because you're not even registering. And we see when it comes to black and brown people, they get really twitchy with their fingers. I honestly think
even if you have a candy bar in your hands,
I think it's worse for black and brown people now that we have permitless carry, because unfortunately, they always saying it's only a few bad apples, but they in the same damn bunch. And so I'm afraid for my life every day now because they don't know who has what, and they're going to be extra twitchy, Right.
Yeah, we have made Indiana, not we, the State House Republicans have made Indiana a more dangerous place.
Oh God, yes. And more dangerous for the humans.
Look, my uncle was assistant chief of police in Fort Wayne, and we've had some robust conversations, and he's a lifelong Republican, but him and I both agree on this topic that this is wrong for Indiana. This is not what's right. We're not even, again, we don't listen to the teachers about education And now the state house ignored the superintendent of police out of Indianapolis, or, the state
police.
They don't care. I mean, it's very evident the people running the state house in Indianapolis simply just don't care about hometown Hoosiers.
And that's a problem. And I'm listening to the two of you. And by the way, if you believe it, if you like what Bryan is saying, please click on his Act Blue link. It is right there as well. Come on, y'all. Click on these links and get these men some money. The thing that's so scary is that the whole point of being elected to office, right, is to represent the people. We are seeing now where people are writing legislation based on the specific industry at the moment and what they agree on. For example, for a long time, we couldn't purchase alcohol on Sunday until the distributors, the manufacturers, and the grocery store people got together and said, okay, let's work this out. Here, legislators, you can write your bill now. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing when it comes to pharmaceuticals. Here we have Eli Lilly's right here. We have, major manufacturer, yet and still we have these major corporations are charging significantly more for their products for Americans than they do outside forces. How do we, and how would you as an elected official address, the special needs, the special interest people, because when you win, they're going to come for you, right? So talk about how, obviously businesses do need our support for certain things, but talk about how you plan on creating those relationships with those entities and how you will be able to, keep the dividing line between the people that you represent and the businesses that are supposed to be serving those people.
Yeah. So Dana, you mentioned that, when they get to the state house, they're writing all these bills for businesses. It's a third of our bills weren't even written by our own state legislators. They were handed to them and said, hey, do you like what's going on in this state? Here, just take this and put your name on it. So they get elected and instantly they get lazy and somebody's handing them a bill to put on the floor. That's insane. And I think that just speaks immediately to this disconnect that apparently if you can get to Indianapolis, the people you're representing don't matter anymore. I know as a teacher, and certainly, if you're in the pastoral community, you are 100% liable and you have to respond to these parents, or these families if they're not happy with what you're doing. And you have to have a reason and a purpose, and you have to listen to them because you're a teammate. Mm-hmm. You're raising this child with those parents. And that's the philosophy we have to have at the State House. We're teammates. We are growing our community as a team. And businesses are a major part of that. And making sure homegrown businesses and local businesses can survive and thrive with big corporations, but still bringing jobs to Indiana, still bringing, lots of jobs to Indiana through larger corporations, but they've got to be a team member too. They've got to have our community in mind. And we're lucky in our district that we have a lot of businesses that have our community in mind, but they have to be team members. They have to be part of this team. They are not the team.
Right. Zach?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Bryan, and especially around the care element. I think part of because I think anybody who gets down there at the State House and you get surrounded by that marble and the reporters, and I think there can easily develop a not particularly rational sense of self-importance. And I think it's incredibly important that you remain grounded in your communities, in the people of your communities, and be invested in the lives of the people of your communities. I think, for example, things like House Bill 1134 happened in part, not only like Bryan said, because that was probably, that was almost identical to how many other bills throughout the nation that were just written on the national level and given. That doesn't happen, I don't think, if you are regularly talking to public schools. Mm-hmm. I don't think that happens if you are in the schools and talking to administrators. You know what education, it was irrational. Nobody's doing the things that they're afraid of. But I think a big problem is we're taking direction. If you're writing education policy, you should be taking direction from schools and administrators and people working in schools, and not cable news show hosts and YouTube commentators. But the problem is that we're not invested enough in our own community and the people who are experts in our field. Like Bryan said, yeah, there's plenty of businesses around here that are very invested in the community. The public school teachers and the teachers all around Fort Wayne and DeKalb that are invested in their communities, our neighbors. Um, Listen to them. Listen to the community organizations, the nonprofits, the businesses that are working in the community. They're who know, they're the ones who have great ideas about what we need and how to write bills that will positively affect their industries. Um, and you got to listen to them instead of just having impressions about, especially political impressions about what needs to happen.
I tell you what, guys, after watching all those humans on the January 6th Commission and all the stories that are being told about what happened after the day after the election, fellas, y'all are so refreshing. I'm not even lying. Like, I get in my mood when I be like, some of these dudes need to sit down and be quiet, let some women take over. But y'all are refreshing. I want y'all to know I'm feeling y'all. I am feeling all of that. All right, Bryan, I'm gonna start with you first. Okay. Talk about the 3 issues that you discuss when you're out knocking on doors and you're talking to the people that you feel are at the top of your campaign.
Yeah, so fully funding public education is like the banner thing for me. As the teacher, I'll shout it to anybody who will listen to me, that we have to fund public education. We have to, because that's where the playing field goes level. We can't become exclusive in education. We have to make sure that anybody who's in our community has access to the same high quality education, not those that can drive their kids to the right schools, not those that can afford to send their kids to the right schools, not the kids that have a particular skin color that are allowed to go to a particular school. Every kid should have the same education if they come through our district and really in our country, right? This isn't a radical idea. This is a foundation of what we are in America. That's number 1. Number 2 is protecting those who protect us. And that means we have to have the common sense gun laws that maybe we're moving towards, I'm not quite sure, but permitless carry is not the answer. We need to have the conversations with community members and community organizations and what's going to help them. I think Zach hit really well that we need to increase access to mental health. That's going to be a big component in keeping our community safe. And, this wasn't something that I was going to talk about, until about 2 months ago, but it was the first thing that the newspaper asked me. I think that we have got to make sure that medical issues for women stay medical issues with their doctors, and we need to stay out of it. And
it seems pretty simple to me, but
my beliefs don't matter. What I would do in my personal situation doesn't matter. And there's, when we talk about Roe v. Wade, there's a massive gray sea, and our job is not to create a black and white line. Our job is to make sure that women have access to safe, affordable healthcare and access to high quality medical professionals that are going to help them navigate through some of the toughest moments of their lives.
God, yes. It is. I mean, the idea that people think that anybody is pro-abortion. We are pro-choice to make, it's an agonizing decision.
Right. I totally agree with you. Whoever, if a person is having to deal with that situation, that's probably the lowest point of their life. The lowest point of their life. And we should be providing as much support, mental health care, and physical health care that we can to those, to those women.
That's well said. Usually dudes fumble that. You didn't. You nailed it.
Well,
you nailed it.
I have some strong women in my family that I really look up to.
I can tell. Zach, what are your 3 issues?
Yeah. supporting education. The school systems around here are such an integral part of this community. So a big part is that we're supporting our teachers, not just fully financially, but also as a culture, as a society, as a community, that we understand how important the role of teachers is in our society. And my mom worked in the schools for 10 years and would say that look at how we're treating our children now, and that's where we're going to be as a society in 20 years. And it's just, when you're growing up, you hear education is the answer, education is the answer. And you don't really realize it, I think, as a kid. And then you grow up and you realize how important it is to be able to tell fact from fiction, be able to tell, different rhetorical devices if people are trying to manipulate you, trying to determine how we separate, what might be a productive route versus what might just be an easy route. So empowering education is number one for me. It's the state legislature's biggest general fund budget priority. It's our most important role. Second is expanding access to mental health care. Like I said, the Kaiser Family Foundation set up here that we have about a third of the providers that we need. In 2020, youth at risk of suicide jumped 873% in our area. And there's just so much upside too, everywhere from, creating more stable families, giving individuals the tools they need. Addiction arrests are such a big part of the crime around here. And further traumatizing people who have addiction issues is not going to make anything better. So we need to put much more focus into mental health care. I mean, that's going to be everything from, protecting people in first responder employment to, helping the school system.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then finally, the third one is just more of a cultural ideal of putting people and principles above politics and power. You got to be invested in people's lives. You got to be able to look at things not from a partisan perspective or how is this going to benefit me or my power or influence, but how's this going to impact the people who have entrusted me with their representation. And that's what, in my opinion, democracy is about. And that's why I think, it's pretty clear, like, this is what Bryan's doing this for, it's what I'm doing this for. And so that's something that's really, really important to me.
And I love it. I love the fact that both of you have, it's interesting. I don't do this on purpose. Like, I don't know these candidates all the time, but you guys are so similar in so many ways. And it's so wonderful that you guys are both trying to get in the state Senate, because I need to send Fatty and JD and Shelley and Senator Taylor and Senator Niedzgowski some help. Senator Bro, I want to send them some help. They need some help. But what I love is that you guys have talked about faith, and you didn't mention religion. You talked about faith and understanding and how that creates compassion for you to see other people. You don't have to agree with them, but your compassion and your faith says, I am going to support them because that's what I'm supposed to do. Why is it that in America that humans think that only Republicans have faith, or that they are the only ones that have a hold on God? Talk to me about it. I mean, because every time I read about Jesus, he a liberal. He a super progressive. He like hanging out, trying to help people. He didn't care how they were. Talk to me, y'all.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's like one of these questions, like, why is that, and why are Republicans painted as like the family party? It's like, I have a great family. I was raised in an awesome family. My family doesn't look like a traditional family, but what is a traditional family in America? And
Norman Rockwell wasn't real.
Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah, so I don't have an answer for you, but I want to go back to what Zach said of, like, he said this at the very beginning, but like I had to type it out because I was like, oh my gosh, this is the line of the night, where he said, love not as like a sentimental thing, but love is a substantial force, was what Zach's words were. And I think that's what so many of us try to do, is that we love our communities and we love our families, that we want to make positive change for everyone. And it doesn't take, there's no specific religion. Well, actually, every religion buys into that, really. So it doesn't take a religion to do that. It just takes basic common sense, doesn't it? That's
Well,
what we should be
common
doing.
sense ain't so common. That's what my
Oh my
mama used to
gosh.
tell me.
Oh my gosh, you're right. So to answer your question, I can't answer your question. I don't know why people don't think that, that we're not faith-based, because I certainly am. And I know so many of my liberal friends are.
Love it. Go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, Dana. I mean, and it's a big question, and books have been written about this, right? Um, and I think for a long time, for decades, there has been an uplift of how do we generate, people in certain corners are questioning how do we generate more power? How do we link um, power and politics? And religion has been throughout history wielded to ill or good effects. There's a part of scripture, that says, you will know them by their fruit. And that is an important line for me, because we have to simply ask, who's out here trying to improve the lives of children in the community? Who is out here standing up for the people who are disenfranchised or oppressed or disempowered? Who is, stopping to help their neighbor on the street? And that doesn't have any political lines, right? That's not limited to one political party or another. It's a question of who's actually doing it. And like Bryan said, and I want to make clear, those are my words. Those are Martin Luther King's words. It's he saw love as this, this actionable force that you put this self-giving service behind, and that everything, and that the very power of God, or the arc of the moral universe, is behind it. That's what's most important to me. That's what, that's why I've done the work that I've done, whether it's in the public library or in the AmeriCorps program or in churches, because it's, you see, as another line from King, to project the I into the thou. What is it like to be in the other person's shoes? And that's what public service should be, and that's what government should be.
Yeah, I am getting uplifted. Woo! I am loving this. All right, I got time for one more question. You talked about your 3 areas of concern, but you just win, and you're at org day, and you're getting all of your bills that you either are going to sign on to as a co-sponsor, or you're writing yourself. Zach, what's the first bill you want to work on?
I think mental health care is going to take longer than 1 year, in order to expand more equitable access and more financially available access. So to me, it's increasing education funding, and it's especially making sure between now and then that all of us are listening to the educators in our community and really asking them, what do you think needs to happen? What is to me, that's what representation is. What do you see, and how can we help you? Because they're the ones who are in this. Bryan's in this every day. They have the knowledge. They see what is happening every day. So how can we help? I read an editorial from a Ball State professor yesterday talking about how inflation adjusted dollars are, I think, are less than they were for education in 2010. That's not how you build a strong society. That needs to be priority number 1.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, there's going to be education bills, I think, just like we saw. My first priority as far as writing that education bill would make sure to channel public dollars back to public education and strengthening the power of all unions, but certainly our teachers unions, so that our teachers have a say, in what's going on locally and at the state level, and again, giving a voice to the professionals that we trust to teach our kids every day. And that would be the first thing I do when I walk through that door.
I love it. And, I still haven't figured out why these folks haven't put two and two together. Maybe they need to go back to school, because if you don't have an educated workforce, you're not going to grow your business. You're not going to grow your economy. If you don't have teachers who have a passion for teaching young people, we will not have an educated workforce, which means we will not grow our economy and attract businesses here. I mean, do they not connect the dots?
And that's how we lift people out of poverty, is giving them a chance to receive a higher education, to get a better wage.
Absolutely. All right. We have actually, this was such a wonderful conversation, y'all. It's over already. I'm sad. I could talk to y'all all day. Zach, tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, so our website is heimachforstatesenate.com. We're on Facebook and Instagram. So we're just trying to be active and especially hitting the pavement over the next 5 months.
And do you have any fundraisers or any days of action ahead?
Coming up, the big priority is taking these, taking these door to door. That's the thing I've been most excited about is, actually showing up in the community. So that's what's going to happen for the next month.
And your website, people can sign up to be volunteers?
Yep, sure can.
Okay, excellent. Don't forget to click on his ActBlue donate link. Bryan, tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, so bryanforindiana.com, BRYAN, bryanforindiana.com. That's where, like Zach said, you can sign up to volunteer. We're gonna start knocking on doors. The big event coming up is tomorrow. The Bartholomew County Fair kicks off. So I'm excited to just talk to community members and listen to them and learn and have some fun. And we're gonna start knocking on doors July 16th. Our whole Democratic Party is, and we could use volunteers. So bryanforindiana.com. That's where you can click my Facebook link and join the group there too. And if I can just, for a 10-second blurb, Dana, when you keep plugging us to donate for our campaigns, and if you're watching and you're not in District 14 or you're not in District 41, when you make a contribution, you're making to a candidate, you're making a contribution for change in Indiana. So even if you're not in our districts, it's a visible sign that you want change in Indiana. So, and we'll be excellent stewards of your contribution to make sure that we're working hard to bring that change to Indiana.
I love that plug. And you know what? One of the things I've always done is make sure that I put all the candidates, no matter where they are from all over the state, because you might actually live in a district where your Democrat is safe. And the other ones need help. And that's why I do this, because I want to make sure that we give our candidates the best opportunity for success. So thank you for that plug. I appreciate that. I appreciate the two of you joining on the show. I mean, my God, this was great. It was full of love. Normally before the show, I tell everybody, hey, my show is about love. I didn't have to with y'all. Y'all just came pouring out with all the love. Hey, I want to give a shout out to all the folks that came to the Indiana Stonewall Democrats after convention party pride. It was an amazing success. I want to thank Councilwoman Andrea Jenkins for coming all the way down from Minneapolis, Minnesota to be our special guest. She read us some poetry. She just brought that funk. She's the first ever trans human to be elected president of any council in the United States. And I want to also give a little shout out to Karen, who came all the way up from Bloomington to meet Andrea. She was on the Today Show this morning. What? So listen, this is how we tie the community together. Issues may come up that make us angry, but we're going to fight together because we want to preserve everyone's civil rights, not just the ones they like or the ones that they don't like. We want to preserve everyone's civil rights. And it starts with electing people like Zach and Bryan to our state Senate. We need real help over there. Guys, go sign up to volunteer and knock doors for them. I know I keep talking about, money is good, but their Senate districts are big. And there are a lot of doors that they have to knock. I used to say all the time, if I I would have taken 10 more volunteers over $10,000 more dollars. So if you can give up a weekend, which guys, I am going to commit to a Saturday to help both you guys knock doors. I love knocking doors. We'll shoot some dates and times for me to come and do that. And we can just do a day of action where I just come and just hang out and be loud and obnoxious for no reason. No, but I'm going to get you some votes.
I love that. Yeah, that's
Get you
awesome.
some votes. All right, y'all. Indiana's on Dana Black. I got a great show coming up next week. Again, two amazing candidates. I got the Congressional District 4 candidate and Roger Day, and I'm blanking on the second one. Don't go anywhere. Don't move. I'll tell you. Don't move. Do not move. Stay right there, and I'll tell you because I'm good at that. I can just go to my calendar. And Mike Travis. Whew, I blew that. Mike Travis and Roger Day are coming on next week. Indiana's on Dana Black. I got shows scheduled out till November. I hope that you enjoy the rest of Pride Month because it's coming to a close. But get your Rainbow Warrior clothes out and go make a stand and fight for our trans youth because they need us more now than ever. All right, y'all. We'll holler at y'all next time. Peace.